Hey, and we're back. If you don't know us, my name is Anjelica. This is my husband Juan, and we're here to have a conversation with you. At this point, I think we're a couple of episodes in. I hope you've listened to the previous ones. If you haven't, please go check those out. And okay, Juan.
What?
I feel like I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to dive into this because I thought like, it's, oh my God, people don't want to hear about that. But I feel like within my hearts of hearts, I feel like I am going to kick myself in the ass if I don't bring this up, if I don't talk about this.
About what?
My depression and anxiety. I think I've hinted at it a lot. I think a lot of the times I kind of just sort of talk about it a little bit here and there, but I never dive into it in a sense. And I feel like it's been really at the top of my mind for like since all of it, before this started happening, before COVID started happening, before all this started happening, like it had been surfacing a lot. And then it kind of has been boiling over at this point for me. And so I feel like I've dedicated a lot of my time to myself, which means everything has been affected by it. I mean, everything across the board, like the conversations I have with you have been affected by it. My day to day, how I wake up, what do I do throughout my day, what I share, with whoever, with my mom, when I talk to her, when I talk to you, when I talk to Edgar, even in my thoughts, like even in my sleep. I'm consumed by it, and more so than ever. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to kick myself if I don't talk about it. So I just wanted to talk about it. Is that okay? Like, what do you think?
Fine with me.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. What do you want to say about it?
Okay. So I guess I'll start off with very basic information. Is that I've been suffering from anxiety since the age of 12. I've had a very bad episode of depression about at this point maybe 10 years ago. It lasted a very long time, for me at least it was, and I think it was like 3 to 4 years that depression lasted that long, to the point where I was non-functioning, to the point where I did not try anything to like harm myself. I thought about it a lot. Like it was not harming myself, but how better it would be for my family, for them not to see me like this. And so the only way to get away from my family, because I couldn't live on my own, I didn't know how to function on my own, was to just not be here. Right. I never took any action on it. I never did anything. I just thought their life would be best without me. My depression, when I started working on it, I sought out counselors, a therapist, a psychotherapist, all kinds of therapy. And when I started to do very well in my sessions for my therapy, for my depression, once my depression, I started to figure out a little bit what it was, and I could not overcome it, but manage it better. And so I've been able to manage it throughout these years. And so when that started to lift, my anxiety just like sideswiped my entire life to where I became agoraphobic. I was not leaving my home. I was not leaving the couch for, I think, a couple of years, months. I could spend weeks, to the point where I've messed up my back at the way that I would sit down specifically on a certain sofa and just stare at the front door. I had a really hard time, like, even when you would go off to work, and I've told you this before, where I wouldn't even go to the restroom, or I would because my body would just shake on the way to the restroom. And like, I was so afraid and scared to move from where I was because I didn't want to accelerate my heart, which would then give me a panic attack. And then when it got really bad, when my agoraphobia got really bad, you would have to drop me off to my sister, to my mom, for somebody to like literally like watch after me. And that's when I started I was very dependent on my quote unquote safe people, which was you, my mom, and my sister who passed away 3 years ago. And like I had a mile radius around our house, even when I was with them. And then luckily for me, my mom she retired, and I could spend all my day with her, and which was a God's blessing for me. And then that's when I really just started to hit hard at my anxiety. And then that's when I found CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And then that's when I started to really like dive into my anxiety and did a lot of exposures. And so I am still a very anxious person, to say the least. I have mild depression. It comes and goes in batches. It's nothing the way it compared to used to be. Like, I am at a 10% of what my 100% was. And my goodness, if my 100% is probably half or less than half or 20% of other people's depression, I never wish that upon anybody. So very long-winded to give my backstory on it. Like I said recently, that it's been just at the forefront of my mind about, just my anxiety and depression, because I've been seeing a lot of people go through it. And I want to speak my truth, and I want to speak up about what I've been going through. And so with that, I want to just touch on a couple of maybe little things that maybe could help people who don't have depression, and maybe other things that can help people who are depressed or have anxiety. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So one of the things that, and I wrote this down because you used to say this to me, and not in a malicious way, not in a manner that was kind of, not to make me feel bad, but it happened to make me feel bad. And it's a term, and we recorded a podcast, and you just actually said this right now, and it's a term that says that people say when they say things like, let me find it, what's the matter with you, or what's wrong with you. Right? Like, that was your way of asking me, like, is there something wrong with you? But just that term, like when you would say, like, what's wrong, but it would be very specific. You would say, like, what's wrong with you? And I'd just look at you and be like, what's wrong with me? Why? What am I doing? Like, am I twitching? Is there something wrong? Is it noticeable? Like, oh my god, like, of course there's something wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. And it would send me into a frenzy. But I hear a lot of people, like, they mean well when they say that. Right? I mean, what do you think when you would say what's wrong with you? You didn't mean that, right? You didn't mean like, hey, you're crazy. Like, to me, it sounded like you would say things like, you look nuts. Like, quit it. Stop. Whatever it is you're doing or thinking, quit it.
I don't think I ever meant it like that, but I think I was asking, like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? What's the deal? Like, where are you? Like whatever the behavior was. Like,
I know, I would zone out.
What's going on? Or like, what? Like, there's something wrong with you?
I would have blank stares.
Are you like I don't know, like, what are you thinking? Are you blanking out, or like what? I don't know. So like, I think when I said what's wrong with you, it was a question, but it was like, I can see how it could have been like, I can see how, like, now in hindsight it could have been like, oh, maybe asked a little bit differently, but. Like, I think it was just like, and I think maybe there was a level of frustration there, like, of like, seeing.
It's frustrating to me, so I can't imagine what it must be for, like, my loved ones to watch me.
So I think there probably was a level of frustration there where it was like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't you get out of this?
Yeah, at the beginning, I think when you would ask me what's wrong, maybe there was some level of frustration. Like, I can think back to specific moments. Like, I remember when you would live, like, when we were first together, we lived together, and then, like, you had apartments, and even, like, me even staying the night at those apartments, like, it was difficult for me to, like, be there. And I'd be like, I gotta go. And you're like, what's wrong? Like, I need you, like, why to you it was like, can you just snap out of this? And but I know that it was a level of frustration, but when it continued off into, like, as we were together, like, I know at some point it was no longer like meant to sound like, what's wrong with you? It was meant more like, okay, and this is what I want to touch on. So instead of, like, those who have loved ones who are dealing with this, instead of a term like what's wrong, or what's wrong with you, or what's the matter, asking a simple question that kind of dilutes and kind of eases the situation when you ask if you can help. So instead of a term of saying like, what's wrong with you? You can be like, hey, how can I help you? What do you need? Right? It's like, hey, I see something is happening. Tell me what I can do to ease this. Tell me what I can do to help. Do I just sit here in silence with you? Do I just shut up? And usually it's easier to answer a question, to talk to a call of action, as opposed to like answering something that a person who's dealing with it can't even answer themselves. So a lot of the times when I would hear that from you, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. If I could answer what's wrong with me, I would be able to answer to you, and you wouldn't be able to have to see me like this. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. And I remember like every time I would hear that phrase, and not only from you, and
do you think that people general, like? But do you think that I think that like means that you have to want to accept a question like that from that person? Like you have to be open to like saying, for somebody to tell you. And I think part of it is that it has to feel genuine for somebody to say, "Hey, like, what did you say? Like, how can I help you?"
Yeah.
Like, because I think.
Even if it's a stranger,
but I think if it's a stranger, like that's easier. But if it's somebody that you know, and like if somebody that you know, and that all of a sudden they go from asking you what's wrong with you to being like, how can I help you? Like there's gonna be like, you're not gonna be so open with them immediately, are you?
It's better received than asking what's wrong. Even if your tone is the same, there is a different acceptance to that.
I know, but what I'm saying is, isn't it hard to go from one thing to the other
for the person that's saying what's wrong?
No, like for the person that's being asked, being told the same thing. I think it is.
You think it is?
I feel like it would be, because if somebody's been telling you, like if you're not used to that person talking to you like that, and then all of a sudden they start talking to you, like all of a sudden they start talking to you like that, that there would be like a level of like, why are you talking to me like that? No.
I'm sorry, Juan. No, that sounds crazy to me.
I don't know.
As opposed to offering help, as opposed to offering, and you're asking me an answer to a question that I can't answer myself, as opposed to offering me help. Of course, I'm going to receive it different, at least for me. And I feel like I don't want to talk that would have been different
on
everybody,
as opposed to now. Like when you're looking at it and like now you're looking at it like you said at 10%, but when you were 100%, do you think that would have been the same thing? Like you would have felt the exact same way?
I would have received it differently.
You would think you would have felt the exact same ways that you're feeling right now?
Yes.
You don't think there would be any difference?
No, because the way the question is off. I'm getting frustrated. How do I explain this? Jesus. Okay, calm down, Anjelica. It's okay. So what I'm saying is, breathe. Yes. So what I'm trying to make you understand, Juan, is that one offers help and the other one offers. It's a loaded question. Something that I cannot answer. If I cannot answer you, if I can't answer myself, I can't answer you.
No, I understand.
One is a loaded question, another offers help.
I understand that concept.
So yes, I will receive it differently. I would have received that differently then.
Okay.
Does that answer?
I mean, like you're answering my question. I'm not like that, and I don't think I'm like asking specifically about me. Had I said something different, like have you would have taken it differently for me? I'm just saying, like I think that there has to be a level of like something. I don't know if it's trust or if it's like being open to receiving that from that person. Because if you feel like that person, if you're not expecting them to talk to you like that, if they start talking to you like that all of a sudden, that you're not going to be so eager to like jump at the opportunity of them offering you help.
But the fact you don't have to take the offer of help, but the fact that they're even offering it gives you a sense of relief. Mm-hmm. That somebody is having empathy with you, that somebody is seeing your situation and they're like, oh, hey, it's another form of saying, hey, it's okay. And I'm thinking back to moments where I've had people like see me in a daze or a frenzy, and they'll come to me and be like, hey, Like they'll like put their hand on my back or my shoulder, or they'll look at me, or like try to make some form of eye contact and just ask a question of like not what's wrong, but they'll rephrase it differently and say things like, "Are you okay?" And to me, that sounds more like it's to me it sounds like an offering.